So Taylor, what would you say to a parent who comes to you and says, will my child pass the 11 plus?
It's a sensitive question, but I would say, I don't know. And that's the truth, because in fact, whether or not a child passes their 11 plus or a particular 11 plus test depends only on their performance in that test. So they may have been doing wonderfully well in the run-up, and then on the day they didn't perform to their potential or their ability. And therefore, there is uncertainty for any child on a particular day whether they do well in a test or not. And it's just as well for parents to keep in mind that there is an uncertainty because of the nature of testing itself. This also means that it's incumbent on parents not to feel or to allow their child to feel as if everything rides upon them passing a particular test, because there isn't certainty that they will, even though they've prepared very thoroughly and they may be very capable. The danger of putting a lot of expectations or pressure on a child to pass a particular paper or test is that if they don't pass it, they can feel as if they've let the parent down, as if they've let themselves down and their teachers and their tutors down, and they'll feel like failures. And that is very detrimental to them. It will affect all areas of their lives for many years to come. And that is why parents should see it with a better perspective. Regardless of the outcome of the 11 plus test, the majority of children who prepare for such a test have put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and they've learned a lot in the process of preparing. So that means that regardless of what the outcome was of the test, whatever they've learned, they've got, and especially the life skills. And by life skills, what I mean is that they've learned facts and figures and skills, but they've also stimulated their joy of learning and sharpened up their reasoning skills. We try to encapsulate what we do in a vision statement which says that our vision is to enhance people's love of and skills in learning and reasoning. And we allow that vision to drive everything that we do, and the children reap the benefits of that. Any parent who is overly concerned with whether or not their child will pass, rather than whether or not their child is doing their best, I would advise them to consider that when preparing for something like the 11 plus test, they should think of it as a long journey, because it is, and that on this particular long journey, the journey itself, how you travel the journey, is actually more important than the destination. I would urge parents to remember that in the end it's about the development of their child and their child fulfilling their potential, and that this particular test that they do while they're still in junior school is one of many tests that they will do during their lives, many hurdles that they have to try and jump over, and that actually along the way what they're learning is what is equipping them for life and to fulfill themselves. Sometimes parents are overly anxious to try and gauge whether their child is likely to pass the 11 plus or not, and to that end they put them in for mock exams. They try to get comparison or reports with other children to see where their child stands. I would think that those are not helpful things to do, because it won't change your child's best. If your child is already doing his or her best, they cannot do any more. And ultimately, whether or not a child gains access to a grammar school isn't going to depend on the result of any practice paper or any mock exam or any other comparison except the actual 11 plus test. And that is the only comparison that is relevant to whether or not a child passes. So, to sum up the advice, it is your child doing his or her best? Are you identifying areas of weakness and addressing them the best way that you can? Is your child maintaining a reasonable balance within their lives? And then, ultimately, are they enjoying learning and stretching themselves? Because learning should always be a positive experience. Otherwise, it's doing a disservice to the child.